Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and iOS 11 has been out for about a week to developers, and I've been using it ever since, and I thought I'd give you the top 5 best and worst features of iOS 11. Now the first one has to do with the Control Center. The Control Center was completely changed to this design, and at first I really didn't like it, but now I would say it's one of the best features. Not only does it have all of your basic functions, it's got 3D touch. So you've got 3D touch. You can turn on night shift, for example, for the brightness or darkness of the display. You can also customize it. So we have a row down here of icons. We can change that row to whatever we want. So if we go to Control Center here in our settings, down here we have a list of everything that we have access to. Now this will probably grow as developers make more apps that will take advantage of this, but right now there's certain things like maybe we want to add low power, maybe we want to add do not disturb while driving, maybe an alarm, and maybe we'll add the magnifier. So now those are all added. We can move these around. Maybe we want the alarm at the top, we want low power at the bottom. We'll go home, scroll up from the bottom, and you'll see they're all here. So we've got low power mode. Now we just tap on it, it turns on. Turn it back off. So it's really simple, intuitive. We've got alarms, same thing. It's great. We can go into our alarms, and it's just a quick shortcut to whatever we want, and hopefully that will only get better over time. The next best feature is screenshots. Now screenshots aren't normally something that's very exciting, but you'll see it drops to the bottom left. Maybe I go into the App Store and I take another screenshot. Maybe I slide over to, maybe I'll go over to apps here within the App Store. We'll take another screenshot. And then we can go into the screenshots, and you'll see there's this one. Let me take one more. And now you'll see it adds another one. So we can take each one of these screenshots, and then we can draw on them, circle what we want, share them. We can mark it up however we want, circle apps, maybe highlight something. It's really messy, but we can save that or share them all at once. We've got the share option here as expected, but we can share them, save to photos, or delete them altogether. It's just a really nice, intuitive way to use screenshots or screen sharing. So the other thing too that they've changed, it's the third thing, is the App Store. And you can see the icon has changed, but if we go into it, we were just in the App Store. Now we have a today view. So now we have a reason to keep coming back to the App Store over and over. So you'll see what it does is gives you today's app. We'll go into Monument Valley 2. We'll scroll down, and it's got information from the developer. It's got more information. It's got animations built right in. It's really nice and a great way for a developer to highlight their app. And no longer will their apps be buried under just games. You've got two different sections now. So you've got a game section and you've got an app section. So now you can highlight apps, and even updates has changed. And hopefully search is better as well, although I haven't used it a ton to figure that out yet. But overall, it's a great design. It highlights a lot of different things, the top paid, top free, and it does the same for apps. So it's going to be easier, hopefully, to find those good apps. And it's just a nicer look overall. Hopefully they'll do the same to iTunes eventually. Now the fourth best feature is on the iPad. So let me switch over to that. Now we're on the iPad, and you can see it's had a full redesign as far as the dock on the bottom. The rest of it looks the same, but the main feature that I wanted to highlight is multitasking. Multitasking has changed on iPad, and let me open the App Store to show you what I mean. So it's got this new look with the Today view. If I scroll up from the bottom, and maybe I want to open music, I take music, drag it out, and now we have music here. But if we pull down from here, we can lock it into split view, just like before. But that's not the best part. If we hit the home button and then we swipe up again, now we've got our control center, but we also have our split view remembered from last time. So you've got YouTube and these things, and the idea is you don't want to close these out. It just manages it. It manages the whole OS itself. So you want to close one of these out, you hit the X, but you don't need to do that. And that's what Apple's getting away from. So if I go back in, double tap, I can go back to my saved split view. I can change this, and it saves the state. So now it's saved. So it's just a really nice way to use multitasking, and it gets even better. The next best thing, or the fifth best thing, is drag and drop. And drag and drop is actually quite good on iPad, and it does work on iPhone. It's just not working as well. So you can see I was at this website. Let me go to my website. Was checking out E3. We'll wait for this website. There we go. And here's my website, and maybe we want to take this web address and copy it into something else. Well, no more highlighting it. We just tap, drag it out. Then we keep one finger down, click the home button. Maybe we want to make a note, go into notes, drag it in. Now it's in a note. It will load, it'll take a moment, and it'll be the website fully loaded when it's working properly, but you get the idea. You can drag and drop pictures from your Photos app. You can drag and drop shortcuts, text, whatever you want, easily between different apps, and it's secure, so it's a really nice feature. Now let's move on to the worst features. One of the worst features of iOS 11, and basically any version of iOS that many people complain about, is this grid of icons. Now, I actually don't mind it, but some people want to free up the top to see the wallpaper better. Some people would only like one row of icons. We can't change that. It's the same as it's always been. Tap and hold. You can delete them. You can move them around, but they just snap back like they always have, and you can't customize them very much, like many people would like to. The next bad thing or worst thing about iOS 11 is still there is no way to download an app if it's over 100 megabytes. So if I turn off Wi-Fi, and I mean that on Wi-Fi. So if I go on turn off Wi-Fi, go to the App Store, go to Injustice 2, for example, hit Get, authenticate, it'll say this item is over 100 megabytes. You need to be on Wi-Fi in order to download it. And I know a lot of people that won't be happy about that, and that's not fixed in this version of iOS. At least it's not for the early versions anyway. The third worst feature, in my opinion, this is actually a pretty big one, is the way they changed notifications. If I pull down, it looks like my home screen, which it looks nice. The problem is now it's 2 steps to see my notifications. So you can see one just by pulling down, but then I have to slide up to see my recent notifications. Slide back down, they go away. It's a 2-step process now for the most part to see any of my notifications. I can clear them all at once like I could before, but I really just wanted to see my notifications, not see my home screen, swipe again, and see my notifications. Hopefully they change this by the time it comes out. Now the fourth thing is going to be a disappointment to a lot of people that have older devices, and that is there's no more 32-bit device support. Now this is good and bad. It means we're moving forward. We've got more secure 64-bit devices that have Touch ID, but the bad thing comes for those that have any device older than an iPhone 5S. So if you have a 5 or a 5C, you won't get iOS 11. That goes for the iPad Air and newer. Those all work, but anything older than the iPad Air, iPad 1, 2, 3, and 4th generation, those don't get this update either. Also, if you have an iPad Mini 1, you won't get it, or anything older than an iPad or iPod Touch, rather, 6th generation. So only the 6th generation iPod Touch and iPad Mini 2 and newer will get this update on those devices. So basically anything with Touch ID or newer will get it. Anything that doesn't have it won't, for the most part. And the final worst thing about iOS 11, that has to go with there's still no simple drag and drop connect to iTunes, and it just works. Now, you don't necessarily need that if you have things like Spotify and Apple Music, but you will need to connect to your Apple computer or Windows computer, load iTunes, then drag and drop your music back and forth. You can't just pull music off of the iPhone and onto your desktop without special apps and things like that. It's just not built into the OS, unfortunately, and maybe one day it will be, but it's not. Now, there's a lot more good things I can say about iOS 11, and honestly, fewer and fewer negative things to say about iOS in general. But for me right now, iOS 11 is looking pretty good. There's a new Files app that lets you gain and kind of organize your photos. There's all sorts of different things that are in here that you'll find features and redesigns, and lots of other things I could say are the best, but there are also things that people still don't like about iOS. But I'd love to hear what you have to say about iOS 11 and your top 5 best and top 5 worst features or issues with iOS 11. Let us know in the comments below. Also, keep in mind this is early. It's not fully released to the public yet. So if it's buggy, that's not really a worst thing. That's part of being in the beta program. But let me know your top 5 best and worst. If you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe and like. I'll leave a link to this wallpaper in the description below. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.